Hey, Desiree here with Soulpath Astrology and this week's Astro Energy Report and three-card tarot spread. If you're new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a place for us to use astrology and tarot as a means of understanding the self, of getting a feel for the weather, astrologically speaking, what sort of energy is impacting us, and mostly as a way of connecting with our inner guidance system and strengthening our connection to that and our courage to act from that place to build that more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. If you are returning, welcome back, Soul Path fam. It's always such a pleasure to have your energy in this co creative space with me. I think this week I'm going to talk a little bit about the astrology. I'm finding, though, that more and more I'm moving into this desire to focus more on just the quality of energy rather than the specifics of the astrology. But we'll just see where we go. I've got a really interesting theme that's been bubbling up for me this week. If you follow me on Facebook, you're already going to be familiar with where I'm likely going to take this video this week. But um, yeah, if not, then it'll be a total surprise. If you're familiar, then buckle up because we're going to go again. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about what's going on. The energy this week is potent. And what's really lovely is May 11th, next Tuesday, Jupiter sextiles the sun. And this is like the luckiest day of the year. This is a really fruitful, very um, serendipitous, very beautiful day for making connections, for doing art, for dancing, for indulging in stuff that makes you feel like you come alive. That's next Tuesday. Before we get there, though, we've got a few things coming in play. We've got some potential for some fights. We've got some potential to really do some deep diving. And my Scorpio ruled people, your sun, moon, rising signs, you guys are going to feel this extra this week. So let's start with May 5, Cinco de Mayo. Ha ha, that's fun. That's today, right? This is what's going on here. We've got Mars squaring Jupiter. So Mars is in Aries, Jupiter is in Cancer. This is where Aries Mars can be combative, but Jupiter Cancer is a little more tender, it's very loving, it's very expansive and warm. So this is where we might be coming into standing for that Aries energy, that Mars energy, for what we love. And in my own world, I'm really noticing this being a very palpable energy that's in the field right now, where I'm coming to my own advocacy. I'm coming for my own praise. I think it's so important that we experience gratitude because none of us are islands. We're all, surrounded by and gifted opportunity, support, and, none of us are doing this alone. But I also want to include the self. There's this interesting conditioning where we're taught to exclude ourselves. You don't hear acceptance speeches where they're like, and I just want to thank myself for showing up every day. And I think we need to start including that. I don't think it needs to be exclusively that. That becomes narcissistic and problematic. But we need to include the self, include our own efforts, include our own body, right? Where we've been for decades, hundreds of years, maybe even thousands, taught to transcend the body, to move into what is more of a masculine, cerebral way of spiritual development. I feel like we're being called to descend now back into our bodies. It's not that one is better or worse, it's that there's seasons for each, and the season of expanding out is done. And now it's time to start descending back in and coalescing that back in. And part of that is acknowledging all the things you need to be grateful for what you have done for you. And what I'm finding is the more that I practice this, the less I feel the need for external validation. The more that I practice internally praising myself, internally assuring myself of my goodness, internally creating a center of gravity, the less clingy, the less codependent, the less manipulative, the less, all those distortions, the less of those there are. And so this Mars energy, this Aries Mars squaring that Cancer Jupiter is asking you to start to do that for yourself and to maybe be curious about where where you've been offshoring that, or, what would be another way of saying that, where you've been outsourcing your own center of gravity externally. Then Taurus, Mercury, so it's been hanging out in Taurus, is squaring Pluto, which is in Aquarius. This can also create some stubborn fights. And there can be Pluto, and this is where it's affecting my Scorpio peeps and my Gemini peeps. There's like Pluto, it's disruptive and it gets internalized. And sometimes there's a period of time that we go through where we're doing a lot of introspection, where there's a lot of growth that's going on that's not in the public eye. And so that might be you right now. If that's how you're feeling, like maybe you want to keep some of your growth to yourself and wait before you present it to the public, totally understand that. There's again seasons where we need to cocoon and internalize our experience and give ourselves permission to not be impacted or influenced by externals, where we're not presenting our finished work yet. We're still working on it. And that energy is happening midweek here. May 6th, Pluto goes retrograde. That's when you're really going to feel that. So Wednesday, so we've got this Pluto action going on where it's really getting impacted, not only by Mercury, but because it's going retrograde, and then Mercury goes visible. So it's like really activating Pluto. And so where in your life are you needing to do some shadow work? Pluto is all about that, needing to go into your own little personal underworld. Maybe you need to meet yourself there. And maybe you're going to find that you want to start bringing some of that up into the light, that maybe you don't even necessarily digest it all in private, but that you start to stop feeling shame around these darker components of your psyche, and instead you invite them to the party. Invite them to the light of your awareness, into your loving heart, into your bosom. A lot of terminology that's been arising in my field is about womb wisdom. And we've got your head and your heart, and we talk about the gut, but I love the idea of talking about the womb space, because that really is our cauldron of creativity. And this is the space that has had so much wounding. It's been raped, it's been pillaged. We've been conditioned to like put things in there like contraceptives, and and I'm not saying that there isn't a time and a place for all of those things, but we have done so much to our womb space where it hasn't necessarily been nourishing or gentle or soft, or given the space to expand. Even our periods, we've been told to like hide that, to have shame around that, rather than meeting our moon time with reverence and recognizing the sacred nature of the pattern of it. It's something to hide and to pretend isn't happening and to avoid. And, and menopause, as we come into that, is like this great shift, this giant transformation and initiation into another layer of wisdom, of elderhood. Humans are one of, I think there's only one or two species that have monarch, whatever, the menopause, where the females move out of being capable of reproducing and yet still continue to live on for an extended period of time. Like there's something very magical about that. And I believe whales are one of the species that does that. And which are matriarchally led, by the way. The pods are led by the feminine, the female. So there's a wisdom that emerges in that. Again, we're like starting to talk about it. We're just on like the little edges of that. But again, it's like, well, how much can we just do hormone replacement therapy to hide all of the symptoms of it? And how can we pretend that it's not happening? How can we stave it off forever? Like there's this deep invitation into returning to our wholeness and to our organic nature and into the feminine body's natural cycles, and to create from an organic, natural place, to slow down long enough that we can connect to our actual breath, that we can lean into and open to the softness of our body, where we can stop being at war with it or at shame with it, and instead celebrate it for the incredibly powerful, creative portal that it is. And then May 11th, Sun sextiles Jupiter. So you go through this work, we're going down, into the Plutonian energy, get down into your womb space. What's hiding in there? What trauma or wounds or stuckness is trapped there? And can you meet it? And as you come into the warmth of the 11th, can you invite it into showing you what it needs? What love does it need? What attention does it require? What nourishment would help finish processing whatever is needed there? What gift can you extract from the process of metabolizing whatever has been trapped there or stuck for some of us, like decades? Can you just acquaint yourself with that room in your castle, your womb room? Okay, let's get into meditation and then we'll do the cards. I want to invite you, we'll do this quickly. Just come into your space just now, noticing your body, noticing your breath, recognizing where your skin creates an edge between you and the space around you. Just noticing any places in your body that may be holding tension, or there might be some stiffness or soreness that might benefit from your breath and the warmth of your attention. Arriving here in the space in your body, noticing your breath and the sounds and the smells and the sensations around you. Welcome all of yourself and all of your experience to this space, expanding to include it all. And when you're ready, blink your eyes open. And let's jump into our cards. So which is calling to you? 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, 3. This is your selection. This is what you've got. We've got the 9 of Wands. So the 9 of Wands reversed, this is about having your inner resources. It can also feel like if you've been under attack, there's a sense of like worn outness, there's struggle, there's overwhelm. Maybe you're feeling defensive. There's an invitation to, when it's reversed, like there is a time and a place where you are actually actively under attack, and attending to that is valid and important. Like there really is a saber-toothed tiger chasing you right now and you need to deal with it. But a lot of the time, the attack that we perceive ourselves being under is just in here. So if this was your card, the invitation is to slow down and question if you're feeling defensive, if your level of defensiveness or awareness is healthy, or is it starting to verge on some sort of paranoia or some sort of habit of seeking, believing you're under attack, because the game of finding that out and doing this like deep dive. I'm just thinking of the Pluto planets and how that's the planet and how that's influencing. Like, where might you be digging where there is nothing to dig for, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And is there maybe like an opportunity here to let go of some of the obsession of believing yourself to be under attack? Like, are there attacking things out there? Yes, but it's the belief that there's this battle going on, whether there's a spiritual battle or it's us versus germs or it's us versus the elite or it's us versus nature and whatever. That model is exhausting. And this card, if it was yours, is pointing towards your exhaustion around that. Like there is a time and a place to defend and to advocate, but there's also a time and place to put down your sword, to put down your stick and realize that in this exact moment, you're safe. You're not actually personally under attack, and to let go of that habit, because it can be energizing to be self-righteous. It can be energizing to be actively seeking out the secrets of what's going on underneath the surface. Like there can be something appealing about that, and it can become an addictive thing that actually traps you. So, you know, just something to consider if this was your card. Let's move on. Card number 2. If this is your selection, you've got the moon reversed. Incidentally, all 3 cards are reverses this week, which is interesting when that happens. So the reverse moon, this is about sometimes about releasing fear. It can also be indicative of like maybe you're repressing your emotions. Um, or sometimes it has to do with, because the moon is about our intuition. Maybe you are getting intuitive hits, but you're resisting it. Maybe you're not sure you can trust it. Maybe there's some feelings around feeling wobbly. And so if that's the case, there's an invitation here to like recenter and recalibrate to your own center of gravity and to take up time and space to allow yourself to connect with your intuitive nature and to maybe go for some lower hanging fruit, like, in terms of trusting your inner guidance system. Maybe you just ask questions about what you're to yourself about what you should be eating today. Am I still hungry? And stop and practice feeling into those answers, because those are low risk questions. You're not asking, should I move or change jobs or leave my relationship or get married? Like, those are high risk choices. What I'm talking about, if you've got the moon card reversed, is what small things could you take to help you build your sense of confidence around trusting your intuition? And maybe it's actually just a validation that you are letting go of some fears around the unknown, around the mystery, or yeah, really like internalizing your connection with your feminine nature. And where might you not trust yourself, and can you begin to build more of a self-trust around that? Yeah, I'll leave that there. Last but not least, card 3, the death card, also reversed. So this is, are you resisting meaningful change? The death card portends of change, of shift. When it's reversed, it's like, are you resisting it? It also will show up often in readings if you are in the midst of massive personal change, but you're really wanting to keep it internalized just now. Again, it really plays into that Pluto energy that's going on this week. Like, allowing that it's okay that you don't have to make public service announcements about every tiny little shift and change of movement that you're making, that you can really just go in and do that work and then present something resembling a finished product later. So maybe there is this great big personal change that is happening that either you're resisting, so feel into that, or you're totally in it and you're allowing it, but you are choosing to keep it secret for now, and that's totally fine. It's 100% okay to have privacy. Um, what else can I say? Oh, sometimes too, maybe you're feeling like stuck in limbo, and that would be tied to that resistance to the change that's wanting to come. So if you're feeling really stuck, if you're feeling dead, like there's a kind of quiet non-movement, but there's still something alive about it. And then there's stagnation. And so this card is asking you, if you're feeling stuck, is it stagnation? Or is it that pause before an inhalation? Only you can know that, but your body does know. And so I want to invite you to check in with that and to take action appropriate to the response you get. Like if it actually is a legitimate just pause before the next step, then great. But if there's that gut level, womb level, knowing that you're procrastinating, that you're just refusing something that needs to shift, I invite you to really make that shift. Like call yourself out, stop looking for excuses, and do the thing that you need to do to get yourself unstuck. And no, you don't have to make a public service announcement if it's too scary just now, but do it. Okay. Final nugget of love. Hmm. There's an important work that has to get done where we have to go into our depths, where we need to feed our real hunger, where we have to meet all the places that we have hidden away or exiled, where we come up against the edges of our socially sanctioned boundaries around what's acceptable and what's true for us. And like, can you really meet all of you? Can you meet the monstrous parts of you? It doesn't mean we have to act on those in public ways, but can you meet them? Can you acknowledge them? Can you have a sense of humor around them? You know, we don't need to be taught how to be human. We need to remember what it means to be whole. And if you want help with that, you can find me in the link to my calendar. There's a description, links to my calendar in the description of the card as well, or in the video. My goodness, English is tricky today. If you find value in these, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and share with your friends. There is big movement afoot, and it's sometimes it's dark and it's loamy. It's like, but it's the woods. You know, this is home. It's not full of boogeymen and scary things out to get you with sharp teeth. They're your sharp teeth that you need. They're your teeth and your claws and your feathers. It's your passion and your joy and your sexy, life-giving energy is hiding behind your propriety and your being goodness and your outsourcing your center of gravity to others in your fear of losing control or getting messy. You fail to connect with the thing that will bring you most love, life, and joy. So I invite you into the woods. Do some deep diving. Know that your way is illuminated by the moon. The way is illuminated by the stars. And even when it seems like it's really dark, you're never alone. I hope that landed. Know that I love you. And as always, my peeps, will see you next Tuesday.